Hey, it's your friend Cristiano, and welcome to the Queer Quest podcast. Hello, all you fabulous souls. Today, I have a fantastic topic to talk about. Something that not everyone wants to talk about, but I think in this queer community, we need to be talking about it more. And it's all about repressed feelings, the pain that we carry. It's almost like we walk around with this backpack all along, and in it, we pick up stones and they weigh us down. And these stones, they represent the negative emotions that we repress and we carry forward in life. As we carry forward, we take them with us until we learn to let go of them. So today, I'm going to be sharing my story. I'm going to be sharing some facts, some figures, some things that I think are super important for us to learn and understand about when it comes to repression. I'm going to talk about the journey that I went through when I went to Peru and I did ayahuasca and the enlightening and healing experience that was. So if you're going to get something out of today, which I really, really trust and believe that you will, what I would love for you to be able to do is to like, to share, to comment, to review, to subscribe, do whatever you can do to support the channel, because what that will do is it's going to help someone else in the queer community who really, really, really needs to hear this video today, this podcast episode. It's going to let them see it as well, because you're going to help to boost it all out. So honoring your support to your other queer family, let's do that and just support it in that way. All right, let's jump in. So really, repressed feelings, we've all gone through that. And if we want to really understand the queer community as a whole, repressed feelings and internalized experiences are literally, the cornerstone of one of our journeys as queer people, right? We all have to go through the internalized experience of accepting who we are in a world that hasn't been built for us, whether that's our sexuality, our gender, our relationship type, all of those areas that we know that build up, the queer community, the LGBTQIA plus community. We have to come to terms internalizing that to the point where we accept it before we share it with anybody else. And as we go through that journey, we repress a lot of stuff, because what we're trying to do before we come out and before we come to full terms of acceptance of who we are is we're trying to monitor ourselves. We're trying to calculate how we come across to people, because we have learned early on that maybe the people around us aren't holding space for us to feel safe fully as we are. So that means we then have to navigate a world internally so that we can then represent ourselves effectively out in the real world. But because we struggle with that, what we do is we mask ourselves, we pretend, we people please, and we carry these deep, invisible, emotional burdens due to all of that societal rejection, all of that shame, and our deep need to hold it together. So really what that means for us is we're going to be people who are people pleasing. We are going to be people who are insecure. We are going to be people who are perfectionists. We're going to be people who are procrastinators until we go through the journey of acceptance. Now, when we are doing all of those things, what we're really doing is we're repressing our anger, our shame, our fears, our sadness, our hurt, our real deep struggles that we all have gone through. Now, I know if I talk to anyone out there who's listening, you all know what I'm talking about when I say the deep pain that we've all gone through as we've navigated life as queer people, especially coming to terms with it internally. So as you can imagine there, imagine that as a backpack, and imagine every time you've had to repress those emotions and those feelings and you push them to the side and you've avoided them, you put them into a backpack. And it's a heavy stone, and each time you put another one in and another one in, and another one in, and it weighs you down to the point where as we get older and as we get into to certain ages, we start to decide that we want to avoid these feelings and emotions, and we want to numb ourselves. And we get into things like substances like alcohol and drugs and prescription medication in order to manage some of that heavy burdens that we carry, right? Because it leads to anxiety, it leads to depression, it leads to suicidal thoughts, to post-traumatic stress disorder. And of course, that's just part of life. The rest of life, where all the other things happen to us, that's not even taken into consideration. But all of that stuff you're going to carry, and it's going to be this hidden weight of repressed feelings that you're going to be carrying in a backpack, right? So really, what I want to share today is about me and you and all of us here learning, how do I go out into the world letting go of this pain? So what if some of the pain that you're feeling or you've been feeling hasn't even been yours to carry anymore? Meaning that people put stuff onto you and you handle it in the way that you were taught, the patterns that you were learned as a human being. And then basically now where you are, you're in a place of saying like, hey, hang on a second, all of this stuff that I've repressed or people have put on me, I'm carrying it in a backpack. Do I want to be doing that anymore in my own life? Now, I know personally, I've struggled with this for most of my life until maybe something like, 5, 6, 7 years ago. So for me, I struggled with repression and repressed feelings for so long, to the point where I wouldn't even be able to speak the feeling out loud. It would come to me and I would repress it, push it away, because I didn't want, I was so much of a perfectionist and a people pleaser and wanted other people to see me in a certain way that I tried to control the narrative, that I repressed everything that came up to the point where people wouldn't have noticed. That a lot of people said to me that I was a person that always had a smile on their face. I was a person that looked like things were going good and okay in life. But of course, we all know that those people who really have a smile on the face all the time, generally there's something deeper beneath it. I'm not saying that's true for everyone, because of course now I'm in a much better place, but I'm also aware that I don't need to smile all the time if I don't need to. If like I can live my life and I can speak and I don't have to try and put things on, and when someone comes along and, try to make them more comfortable, because of course that's what we've been doing our whole life, is trying to make other people comfortable around us, which is why we struggle, which is why we've repressed ourselves, and which is why these stones keep getting built up into our own backpack. So, for me, what it felt like every time I repressed, and it would get to a point where it felt like a lot, I was dealing with burnout. I was dealing with emotional repression. I was dealing with feeling disconnected from myself, from my body, from my spirit. I was having certain breakdowns emotionally, and as I got to this to the age where I went out, I would drink heavily to the point where I blacked out at least once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week from alcohol. And then drugs, I've been to hospital more than 6 times, 6 times from overdosing on drugs like GHB. So I know what it's like to repress and to numb and to avoid, and what it looks like. It also is very tiring and causes a lot of fatigue. And there's also, certain relationship issues with other people, because of the times when you really get to those levels, people see you in a side that they don't know you, and it just becomes unhealthy. So you might have unhealthy, toxic relationships with friendships or even partners. I struggled to date because I was a hot mess from my younger years. And that was all because I was dealing with the repressed feelings, and I didn't know how to actually navigate and deal with it. And the fact that I even had them, all I knew was I was taught how to repress. So I would do it thinking that this was normal, because that was just my norm. Hey love, while I've got you, I want to gift you with something powerful. Something I wish I had when I was cracked open and crawling through the mess of heartbreak, shame, and that deep ache of, why am I like this? If you've ever felt like healing is this confusing, invisible maze where you're just surviving one emotional breakdown after another. If you've been wondering, is something wrong with me? I want you to know, you're not lost. You're not broken. You're becoming. Most queer people were never given a roadmap for healing. We were taught to hide, to perform, and to shrink. We've been gaslit by religion, erased by culture, and taught to just get over it. But healing isn't a straight line, especially when you're queer. It's not just about feeling better. It's about coming home to your queer, radiant, whole self. That's why I created the Journey to Queer Healing, a free guide that maps out the 18 emotional stages of queer healing. It's not just theory, it's your soul's survival map. you'll see where you are, what's next, and what's possible on the other side of the pain. This guide has helped hundreds of queer people realize it's not just me. I'm not behind. I finally understand what I'm going through. Download the guide today. Let it remind you, your healing isn't random. It's divine. Download it now via the link in the show notes. Or you can comment guide on this video or on any of my socials, and I'll send it directly to you. And when you're ready to go deeper, join us for the Queer Comeback webinar. Let's make your healing sacred and make your comeback legendary. I'll see you on the journey. My normal way of being. And maybe you can relate to that as well. Now, really, when it comes down to it, we are creatures of our patterns and our habits. And so if we have been doing something that in some way has helped us, and it helped us to navigate a world where we were able to navigate the shame and mask a lot of those things that we had been hiding, the stuff that we didn't want other people to know about us, our queerness, our identity, the stuff that, like I said, that we felt unsafe about. We had internalized it to mean a certain thing. The story had been told, and we repress. This is, you might be someone who can relate to the point where I have always been the type of person that struggled to be able to get emotional and cry. I always felt like maybe I'm just not an emotional person. Of course, as I've gotten older and of course I've gone through my healing journey, I've realized that that's not the case. I've actually been able to really process and feel deep emotional states. But there are still points right now where I can't, it takes a lot for me to be able to get to the point of crying. I'm not the type of person who can watch a movie and blah, 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 blah. That's just not how it is. I would love to be able to be more like that. And I work towards it, but I'm no longer repressing. I just know that that's just part of my journey, that I like that's just built up stuff, right? I've let stuff go. So the great thing about it is that I've gone on my own healing journey. And for me, up till probably around the age of 30, 32, I was repressing my emotions really deeply. And it would come in the form of, like I said, pushing them down, going out and blowing off steam. And sometimes in those moments of blowing off steam with alcohol and drugs, I would black out and shit would happen with friends and other people, and it would be a mess. And I would fall apart. But I wouldn't remember any of those things. But I just remember waking up feeling so much better. Like I had all this stuff off my chest. But then I would have all of these problems with other people that I had to deal with and work through, because maybe I'd upset someone or I'd unleashed a lot of my pain onto someone and they didn't know how to handle it or what was going on and had seen me in a certain light. So a lot of stuff happened which caused me to continue to repress, because every situation was like, oh my God, people saw the deepness within me, and it's caused a problem. So it may even reinforce further, because I wasn't dealing with it in a healthy way. Now, you might be someone who can relate to dealing with your things like repressed feelings in unhealthy ways. That was literally what I did all the time. And I know I've been talking about the backpack, and imagine carrying this backpack around since you were a child. And every time you suppress the feelings, the anger, the grief, the fear, the shame, the rejection, all the stones just kept going into the backpack. And this backpack got heavier and heavier, and you forgot that it was even there because you thought that was a part of you, that this was what you were supposed to feel like. This is what life was like. This is what is normal. And of course, there are so many people in our queer community that normalize carrying this weight around, because truthfully, it's all we've known. We've been repressing since we were very, very little. Before we can even consciously remember, we've been doing this because we have been trying to keep ourselves safe in a world that hasn't been built for us to feel safe as children. And so we learn these patterns of behavior. And of course, we don't share with other people for them to say that's unhealthy. We keep repressing. So how many of us out there are carrying other people's expectations, other people's pain, and silence on our backs? For me, when I was 32, I knew that I was at one of my rock bottom moments. I had been struggling. I'd been traveling overseas a lot. I was in my hotel rooms getting absolutely shit-faced every weekend on my own. because I was over there for work and just on my own struggling with this deep level of it. And it just was to a point where I felt like the bucket was so full that every second it was something was tipping over. And I just felt really, really like, oh my God, I'm getting a little emotional to see, but like really like broken. I really felt broken. And a friend of mine had talked to me about this thing called ayahuasca. And she kind of just explained to me about how she wanted to go do it. And they do it over in South America and Peru and things like that. And so as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh my God, that feels like something I need. So I started doing all this research and I was looking up all of the different places that you can go to. And I found this place. I was like, wow, this everything that this has is what I want. You go there for 2 weeks, you do the ayahuasca 7 times, you do all these other little ceremonies you get to do, to go to Machu Picchu, you get to go to the Amazon jungle. It was like a full adventure. And so I decided in that moment when I was having one of those rock bottom moments in the hotel room in the Philippines where I'd just been absolutely trashed, that I would book this trip. And I booked it and it was leaving like in 2 weeks. I hadn't even told my boss or anything that I was going to go, but I just booked it, said I need to go and I'll make it happen no matter what. And so I remember going in there feeling so closed off. There was all these other people out there, of course. It was a retreat, like 20 other people, plus all of the people who, were shamans and the facilitators and the helpers and all of that stuff there. And I just remember feeling like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? I'm here. Even like the night before I went there, I got absolutely shit-faced as well. And I was just feeling like maybe I've made a mistake. I was really struggling there as well. And I just remember we went into our first session and literally it changed my life. I remember that first session going, oh my God. After the session happened, I honestly felt like I went off to space and met aliens and all of these different things. I remember coming out and I sat there sobbing for at least 20 minutes uncontrollably. And people kept coming up to me and trying to, see if I was okay. And I said, can you please leave me alone? I need to get this out. I don't cry often at all. And this feels like it needs to come out. So I just kept kind of pushing people away. Slowly, the layers came off. And as I was doing each of the ayahuasca sessions, a layer deeper came until we got to one, which was so powerful for me. It was like what I can explain as there had been a slug, an emotional slug that has been living in my body for my entire life. And what this slug would do is it would feed off of these repressed negative emotions. And the slug would then grow and grow and grow and grow and become bigger. And this is energetic slug. This is not a physical slug, right? And so as it grew, it became heavier and the weight was there. And so I went through this session where literally probably for like 4 or 5 hours, because the session, these actual ceremonies, they probably go for about 5-6 hours. I remember literally having a battle with this slug the entire time. Trying to get it out of my body. My body was going through like all different convulsions and kind of like what someone might see as a little bit of a fit. And I remember when it left my body, I got it out. I felt a sense of peace that I'd never felt entirely in my life. I felt like a weight had been carried off my shoulder. I felt like the backpack night that had been put down had been burnt to the ground, and this slug was no longer there. And to me, what that really represented was all of the negative, repressed emotions that I had been storing up in my body since I was a child. And they've been weighing on me and weighing on me and weighing on me and causing me trauma and causing me deep emotional pain. And when it was gone, I knew that was a pivotal moment in my... Hey babe, quick moment before we dive back in. I have a question for your soul. Have you ever felt like you lost yourself somewhere along the way? Maybe it was the breakup that shattered you, or the years spent hiding, bending, blending just to feel safe. Or maybe it's the quiet ache that whispers there has to be more to this life than just surviving. Well, I want to invite you to something that's not just a webinar. It's a comeback, a queer one. A sacred, fabulous, F the rules kind of comeback. It's called the Queer Comeback Webinar. And inside, I'm sharing the 3 secrets every queer soul needs to know to come home to themselves, unapologetically, spiritually, powerfully. This isn't about fixing you, because you're not broken. This is about remembering who the F you are. If you're tired of dimming your light, people-pleasing, or playing small just because of society's judgment, come. This is your moment. Not someday, not when, you're more ready. Now. Tap the link in the show notes, or just comment "come back" and I'll send you the link. Reserve your free spot now. And if you're multitasking right now, pause this video for just 1 second and do this for you. Your comeback isn't deserved, it's overdue. I'll see you there, my love. In my journey. So this healing journey was something that, for me, was important. And I knew I needed to figure out how I no longer could fill up that weight anymore, so that these negative emotions were no longer storing in my body, but also, how do I effectively let them go? How do they leave the body for good? Because that's what happened there, but I don't want to get into the pattern of, okay, cool, I've done that, but now I have still got the same pattern of repressing feelings. I was like, no, it's time for me to learn this. And so over the next couple of years, I had my ups and downs. I literally left there. And for someone who was really, using substances like alcohol and drugs to manage my pain and my hardships, I didn't touch anything for well over 100 days. I didn't even have a sip of alcohol, and I felt absolutely amazing. What I realized afterwards, though, when I decided to go back to drinking at a wedding, it was in a weak moment. Everyone else was drunk, and I decided to do it. And afterwards, I kind of had I went from being up here all the way down. I spiraled a little bit, and kind of what people would say if they were, in AA and they have they go off the wagon, that they kind of spiral, and it takes them a little bit longer to get back on. And it did. It took me 2 years to get back to a point of sobriety. Back from 2018 to 2020 was when I went back into my level of sobriety. And really, over that period of time, I was in a lot better place, but I was still repressing feelings. And so really, for me, in 2020, what I did was I jumped fully into self-development. I did all of the big courses with Tony Robbins, Brenda Bouchard, Grant Cardone, Mel Robbins. I did anything that was available. John DeMartini, all of the key people. I got coaching, and I really worked through a lot of stuff. I learned a lot about my nervous system, about my body. And then from that point on, I've been on this absolutely deep journey of wellness and health and fitness, and to the point where I'm in the best shape of my life. Literally, I feel fit, I'm healthy, I'm sober, I'm clean. I literally I have 6% body fat because I take care of myself. I go to the gym 6 times a week. I take care of my mental health and my emotional health, to the point now that there's no more repression. Where it took a lot of skills for me to get there and understand that. And of course, I share a lot about that with my clients. But really, the key thing is that my life, my body, my relationships, and my emotional expression, they've changed for the good. Like, there's no going backwards, because I know what I know now. I can move forward in a way that is really positive for me, because my body is a temple. My mind is something that I have to continue to work on. My mindset, my emotional state, of course, is attached to my body, but of course, it's attached to the minds and the thoughts. But I have to understand the mind, the body, the spirit connection. I'm a deeply spiritual person. I've gone deeper into that since being able to let go of these repressed feelings, because I see life through a lens of positivity and a lens of opportunity and a lens of manifestation as well. And so for me, what I've been able to do is figure out ways to support other people, because really what I wanted to figure out was, what did emotional freedom feel like? Was it those moments when I'd finished those sessions where I felt absolute peace? Was that what freedom feels like? Well, yes, but what freedom feels like is, now I get to choose. I don't have to live my life this way. I don't have to feel like, wow, this is how life is, and I just have to accept it meaning that I have to accept walking around with the backpack on with all of those stones of all those negative emotions, or having that slug inside of me my entire life. No longer is that there. It's gone. And what I do is I continue to monitor myself, continue to do the work, continue to go on deep healing and spiritual journeys so that my capacity for self-love and connection evolve. Because really, in doing what I do in supporting queer people across the world to really transform their lives from those repression to absolute peace and freedom, what I do along that journey is I have to be at my best to be able to support that, because I can't give someone the support that I haven't been able to give to myself, right? You understand that you have to really focus on yourself. So for me, that's why I'm a continual work in progress, and I continually to do the steps needed because I know what the results that I'm getting. I know how I feel, and I know the results that I see in my clients. And it's my absolute mission and my purpose to support queer people. And that's what we do at Queer Quest. And of course, if you're someone who's interested, I do run a free webinar, which is called The Queer Comeback. And it's literally helping you to come back from all of the repressed feelings and all of those times in your life where you have felt counted out or less than. We've had to internalize yourself and struggle with how you feel because you don't trust other people to talk about it. If you're in need of a queer comeback, I'm going to link that below. You can check it out. I'm going to link a couple of other things below as well. I've got a free guide as well that you can check out that is talking about the 18 emotional healing stages that we go through as queer people. You might be able to check out where you are at. And if you do, comment below where you're at on that journey, because I think it's important for us to share where we're at and be honest with it, right? So if you want those, I'll link those below. Getting back to it though, healing is an ongoing process. And for me, like I said, I've had some very pivotal turning points in my life, and I've shared, some of those key ones with you. And I don't necessarily believe that everyone needs to go to ayahuasca retreats for them to receive it, because there are so many different ways to get there. But I didn't know that. I didn't have the skill set or the tool belt to be able to do that. And really where we're at is we want to speak to the reality that so many queer folks are still carrying those backpacks and those slugs, and they just haven't been able to see yet because they think it's normal to feel that way. I know those feelings, right? And really, what I really want to invite you to do right now is I want you to gently tune into your own body right now and your emotional lives. Maybe close your eyes and take a nice big deep breath. Ask yourself, what feelings have you buried in your body? What feelings have you repressed? And what would happen if you gave yourself permission to feel them or to let them go? Or do you even know how? Would you like to learn? Encouraging that self-awareness, it helps you to overcome the shame, because you should not be ashamed of having these feelings. So many people in the queer community struggle with it. And if we struggle in silence, then we live that way in silence as well. Emotional repression has been a survival response. And it's time for us to move out of the survival phase and move into the thriving phase, because that's really where I want us all to get to as a community. I know when we look at the world, especially here in 2025 with stuff that's happening in different parts of the world with different leaders and all of these things, that, it might seem scary, but that's where we need to do the work the most. When it is scary, we need to do the work the most so that we can rise, so we can overcome this and we can move forward and not let that stuff bother us. Because at the end of the day, we can't always control the rest of the world, but we can control ourselves. We can support our community, and then we can also push forward things that feel right for us as well. Now, what I would suggest, if for me walking here, I've given you a number of different questions. If you want to really get to a place of really understanding yourself when it comes to your repressed feelings, I recommend journaling, and journaling on a regular basis. Now you can get a notebook. I always have a few around, one in my bed, one on my desk, one downstairs. I also have my phone where I do I do voice journaling through the journaling app on here. I love that. I do that most days as well. And I think that's an important thing for you to really start to have the self-awareness, see what's happening, because as the thoughts swirl around our head, they go around. We have, 60,000+ thoughts a day. If you can write stuff down in a journal, it's a place where you can go back and actually collect those thoughts and actually read them, and then figure out, okay, well, I do notice this as a pattern. I have seen this more often. That's when you can start to see it become self-aware of it, and then figure out what's your next step, whether it's coming to the Queer Comeback webinar, whether it's checking out my free guide, or whether it's doing something else, or whether it's jumping on a plane and going to Peru. Whatever feels right for you is right for you. So I want to end this here with a lot of hope, with a lot of compassion for ourselves, and a lot of empowerment. Because my hope for everyone here, and my trust for everyone here, is that maybe this conversation has sparked something within you. The compassion I have for all of our community runs deep, and I hope that you know that you are loved, that you are worthy, that you are deserving of healing, of growth, of transformation, and of a better life. And you deserve to let go of that backpack, put it down for good, kick out that slug from the body, and feel empowered to take the next step forward on your journey. You're not broken. I remember I told you I felt broken for so many years. You're not broken, you've been burdened. And it's your chance through the healing journey to become the best possible version of who you truly are. Now, I want you to take the time to journal, to explore those backpacks, take those slugs, really look at them, and just really start that work of release. Like I said, we have support that you can go to. I'm going to link those things below. And if you've got questions you want to share with your story, I always love hearing from you all. So you can share them with me in the comments below. If you want to send me a message privately on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on all of the platforms, I'm available to chat. And I love hearing from you all. I'm going to be back next week with another episode of the Queer Quest podcast. But until then, always remember that you've got this and I've got you. Bye for now. Hey love, before you go, I need to tell you something important. You weren't meant to do this healing journey alone. You weren't meant to figure out your queer identity, your purpose, your healing, your worth in silence. So if you've been listening and thinking, I'm ready, I want to transform, I want to live fully, I just don't know how, this is your sign. This is your queer comeback. Welcome to Queer Quest Pro, a revolutionary 12-month journey of queer healing, growth, and transformation in every area of your life, from your mental and emotional health to your spiritual connection, purpose, finances, identity, relationships. This is your full circle evolution. We guide you month by month through the queer wellness wheel of life with workshops, live coaching, quests, rituals, and a global community of queer souls rising together. It's the place for woke queer humans who are ready to rise unapologetically. Because healing is hard, but healing in community, that's sacred. And baby, you deserve sacred. Are you ready to live a life that actually feels like yours? Click the link in the show notes to join us now. Doors are open. We're waiting for you inside. This is your comeback. Don't miss it.